Hey everybody, Karthik Subramaniam here. I just finished showing some property here in this office building. What happens to a lot of investors as they start thinking about getting into real estate investments are that they might have, let's say, a certain sum of money that they've collected from some other venture. So let's say they have some other business and they have, let's say, $1 million. Now, one option is you could leave that $1 million in the bank. Now, if you leave $1 million in the bank, what's the bank going to pay you on that million? I don't know, something like 0.05%, not even 1% probably on leaving your money in the bank. Now, there's a lot of people that leave millions and millions of dollars in the bank, not because they're stupid, but because they need to maybe get to it quickly, or again, a very high level of liquidity, or it's super safe, right? The risk of bank insolvency is pretty low. If you come over to the real estate business or the real estate market, you're going to want something higher than a 0.5 or 0.05% rate of return. If you're going to invest in real estate, you probably want a 4 or 5 or 6 or 7% rate of return. And why is that? That's because real estate is generally perceived as being riskier than leaving your money in the bank. By the way, if you don't think real estate's risky, tell that to the thousands of people that lost their houses and buildings in 2008, 9, and 10 through the recessions. And as an investor, you need to be compensated for that additional risk. So that's our first fundamental relationship. The greater the risk, the greater the rate of return. Now, in the real estate world, the rate of return, of course, is known as the capitalization rate. So the capitalization rate is the investor's anticipated rate of return. Now, again, in real estate, the higher the risk, the higher the capitalization rate will be. Now, the question, of course, now that we know that fundamental relationship, the greater the risk, the greater the cap rate, the question then becomes, well, how do we measure risk in a real estate investment? So the quality of the rent, the quantity, and the durability are the three things that go into measuring risk in a real estate investment. Let's look at these one by one. The quality of the rent. How stable is the tenant? What is the likelihood that that tenant will continue to pay you rent? The quantity of the rent, how much are they paying you? And of course, the durability of the rent, meaning what is the likelihood that the rent will continue? So month-to-month rent, not so durable. A very low quality commercial tenant, not so durable. Tenants paying you very low rates of rent, not so high quantity, right? So again, quality, quantity, durability. Those are the three ways that we measure risk. Let me ask you this. A Wells Fargo anchored 10-year freshly signed commercial lease. We'll look at Wells Fargo. High quality, right? Wells Fargo is going to pay you the rent. High quantity, if they're paying you market rent and they just signed a 10-year lease, that's very durable. That is a relatively safe investment. Because it's so safe, the capitalization rate is going to be very low. You might, in this economic environment, you might only get a, let's say, 5% rate of return or a 5.5% rate of return with the Wells Fargo anchored center. Now, if you go out in the middle of nowhere in some really rough area where you need a pistol to get your rent from your apartment tenants, that might be low quality of rent. They might only be paying you $600 a month for that studio, and they're all on month to month. That's not so durable. That's generally perceived as being riskier. So a capitalization rate on that deal is going to be higher because those tenants are generally perceived as being higher risk. So again, first fundamental relationship, the higher the risk, the higher the rate of return. And in real estate, rate of return is capitalization rate. So again, the higher the risk, the higher the cap rate. So I'm going to be doing a 3-part series on this. This is the first piece to the income approach to appraisal. And I know a lot of people that are considering investing in real estate have heard the term cap rate. Super simple. All it is the investor's anticipated rate of return, which is reflective of the risk. Remember, the higher the risk, the higher the capitalization rate will be to compensate you for that additional risk. If I can help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out on Instagram at Karthik's Picks. Don't forget to share this video, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.